For me, I think key areas would be in that sequence of assessing a student, diagnosing the student, and then subsequently prescribing a course of remediation. We all know that is heavily the burden of teachers these days. And so with artificial intelligence, if the assessment, the diagnosis, and the course of prescribed remediation can be done, then what it does is it gives the teacher more time to focus on those specific areas of deficiency with those students. Up until now, much of that has been on the shoulders of the educational community, teachers specifically. It takes a lot of time, very challenging. Not a lot of technologies out there that are doing it, at least not until recently where they are now. And so again, what it does is, following back on your previous slide, frees up time for the teacher to really work with those students in their areas of deficiency, thus allowing them to keep on their learning journey.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing those thoughts. I think for a moment I felt like I was in a doctor's clinic. Assessment, diagnosis, prescription, but I think the remediation part, that's very important, because we can set up everything, right? You can set up the best faculty, the best kind of resources, digital learning resources, synchronous, asynchronous learning. You can bring the best from the technology side of it and the academic side of it. But if you're not able to gauge, that's where you meant by diagnosis, if you're not able to gauge what has been the student outcome, and if you're not able to gauge that, identify the gaps, and then prescribe a remedial action to fill in those gaps, then there's something that we are missing on the table there. So again, I would totally agree with your point. And plus, the other day you were talking about some story which kind of relates to this. Do you want to share a little bit about it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Were you asking me, Rahul?
No, I just refer to last.
Yeah, Michael, go ahead. If you have a story to add, sure, I will go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the areas where we've seen artificial intelligence have tremendous impact is with students overseas that are English language learners, either looking to improve their English language proficiency and or straight out English as a second language. Very challenging, because there's really 4 components to learning English: read, write, speak, and listen. And with the complexity of all those, either as one-off solutions and or combined, teachers really need to understand where is the student having deficiencies. Sometimes students may be able to speak in English, but perhaps lagging in read, write, or listen, or vice versa. And so there's some tremendously advanced AI algorithms that have helped teachers in those schools diagnose specifically where those students are having those deficiencies. And what it does is it improves the learning path for those students as they learn English, right? Because we've seen it many times before. Students graduate with a very basic understanding of English. And so if you can break those down, diagnose where they're having difficulties, address those difficulties, it just improves the outcomes of their English proficiency in the 4 areas: read, write, speak, and listen.
Thank you very much, Michael, for bringing that case. I think that's a very relevant case.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree, Michael. I think coming from where you are in terms of English speaking, I think all those 4 elements are extremely important. Yeah. So what I want to connect with is Ahmed mentioned that bulk of the time teachers spend on answering questions. And what comes to mind is Georgia Tech University. They realized the same problem, and they say, how do we free up teachers? And they created this conversational chatbot called Jill. And they spent a lot of time on Jill because first they had to collect all the frequently asked questions and answers, right answers, and upload everything onto Jill, and then had practice out Jill and how Jill would perform. And they had their learnings, and they found that the entire dump of questions had to be categorized and structured and made contextual for Jill to be coming up as a good assistant. And interestingly, what they did is they did not tell the students that somebody called Jill is an IA chatbot. They pitched Jill as another faculty. So Jill was listed along with all the other 10, 15 names of the faculty. And students were asked, free to access any of them. And they found that they were getting an equal share of questions in the beginning. And then slowly, as Jill was being more available than the other people, most questions started coming to Jill. And Jill became so real that over a period of time, people didn't know that Jill was the AI chatbot. And so the students were even asking, what is your favorite movie? What are you doing for dinner tonight? Stuff like that started happening. And it's really later that they realized that Jill was a chatbot. So actually, Jill Watson, I think it's a very famous chatbot story. And there is a TEDx talk also available. I think it's made by Professor Ashok Goel, who's the creator of Jill. So this is a very interesting and effective implementation of AI to free up a lot of faculty time. So I thought I'd share that. Yeah, thanks, Paul.